So the feminist narrative is crumbling, and here's why. 5 lies about feminism by Baggage Clay. Let's get into it.
In recent years, I have become thoroughly convinced that feminism has severely hurt our society. It's done so primarily by selling 5 pernicious lies to women. So let's talk about those lies and let's talk about what impact each lie has had on our society. And at the end, I want to talk about why feminism has been so successful in taking women ideologically hostage. Let's begin with lie number 1. Women can have sex just like men. This right here is the most dangerous lie that feminism has sold to millions of women. Feminism is always aiming for equality for women. And in many ways, they have achieved that. They secured the right to vote, to have financial freedom, as well as the right to work. But as the battles have been won and equality has been achieved, the fervor for more equality has blinded them, where even inequalities that are biologically built in now need to be destroyed. This inequality is most apparent when it comes to sex. This is not the same for men and women, and it never can be because of the risks attached for each gender. Pregnancy, assault, and even getting killed are all real possibilities because at the end of the day, men are just stronger and more aggressive. And it's really hard to tell whether a man is going to honor you and take care of you because he's a good man versus a man who's just pretending to be a good man in order to have access to you. Previous generations solved this issue by recognizing sex as something very sacred because it has the power to create life. So they treated a woman's body and trust as inviolate.
That's a good point, right? Because men and women are they're a different breed. And so this is why men continue to say, hey, if you have a man that you're talking to, you have a man that you're interested in, run him by me. We'll let you know. You got men in your friend zone. You got men in your life that you call terrible. It's all men until it's no men. But that man that you're including in the terrible list of men is telling you, hey, watch out for this guy. Hey, that guy's a Chad. Hey, that guy's a Tyrone. But modern women don't listen. So they get bamboozled. They get taken advantage of, and then they get mad at a man because of their mistake, because of the things that they do. And it's one of the lies that feminism begins or continues to tell these modern women.
Relegated this union between man and woman to marriage. Why? Because marriage offered a whole bunch of security that a casual encounter just couldn't. There was safety in the contract of marriage, the man to his wife as well as to his children, and had the societal and financial responsibility for them. This gatekeeping of sex was really effective because it forced men to have to work for that privilege through marriage. They had to prove to be worthy of a woman, to be worthy of someone's daughter. They had to be financially responsible, have a good reputation in their society, and show a willingness to step up to those responsibilities. Now, of course, there were instances of just terrible men pretending to fit the bill, but overall the system worked really well in protecting women, but more importantly, forcing men to grow up. Now, fast forward to today, where in our society, one of the biggest problems that we're facing is that men seem to be caught up in this perpetual arrested development. Even well into their 40s and 50s, there are these instances of adult toddlers, and cities like San Francisco and New York have turned into Neverland, where people really just don't have to grow up. The combination of dating apps as well as the proliferation of hookup culture has ended that noble act of men courting women and honestly turned sex into a commodity. They have reduced sex down to a meaningless act. The push to have sex like men was aimed to empower women, to help them claim their sex and throw off societal expectations. But has it actually helped women? Aimed at freeing women, this revolution has actually freed men to use women, all while telling women to feel empowered by being disposable. Like I said,
Well, I mean, sit up here and we talk about it freeing men. No, men just went into the market and said, oh, shoot, they don't have apples anymore. They have oranges. I guess I like oranges now. Oh, shoot, they don't have oranges. I really love the oranges. I would really like, can you get some oranges? I'm looking for some oranges. No, the only thing we have is lemon. Okay, well, I'll take lemons and make lemonade. That's what men are doing now. They're taking whatever you put out there and they're making whatever tea, lemonade, juice, drink they can, because that's what's available. And men are doing it, right? It's not freeing. It's adaptation. Whatever you got going on, cool. You say you don't want a man to approach, cool. I don't have to. You say you want a man to leave you alone? Cool. You got it. You say you're strong and independent. You don't need no man? Cool. You got it. Go ahead and pick that up. You don't need me to do it. You can pay for your own stuff. You can buy your own flowers. Why ain't a man approaching me? Why are we staring and nobody's approaching? Why is a man not giving me flowers? Because you said you can buy your own flowers. Didn't you say that? Didn't you say that you can write your own name in the sand? Didn't you say that you can do all of this stuff for yourself? Okay, go ahead, then, strong, independent woman. Go ahead then.
I said this is the most dangerous feminist lie. Unfortunately, it's not the only one. Lie number 2. Women had to fight for the right to vote, while men were just granted the right to vote. Yes, women had to fight for the right to vote, but so did men. Voting is a pretty novel concept. For centuries, societies have been organized around monarchies, where one person, either the king or the queen, had all the power, while the people surrounding them were trying to have checks on that power. In the West, voting was first introduced in the 13th century, where a small percentage of the population were eligible to vote depending on land ownership. The right was slowly expanded, but even as late as 1832, in England, less than 10% of the population were eligible to vote. In colonial America, voting was restricted to land-owning men only, because property ownership meant you paid taxes, so there was this belief that if you paid taxes, you had stake in the society. Universal male suffrage did not exist until the late 1800s, where many men had to fight and die in wars before they were granted that right. So while women did secure the right to vote in the 1920s, it was only about 50 years after all men got the right to vote, around the 1870s, depending on when the states passed the laws. The idea that men just gave themselves all the power is a feminist myth. Both men and women had to earn that right to vote, because for most of history, people in power did not believe in distributing that power. This is not limited to America either. You can see that the timeline of universal suffrage is very similar across the world, meaning this was an evolution of trust in the people that all societies have had to go through. Lie number 3. Women were locked up in the home by men until feminism freed them. This is the feminist myth that men had to lock women up in the home because they're afraid of feminine power. This is such a misunderstanding and disconnection from what the world used to be like, because life was really hard, not just for women, for everyone. For much of history, women stayed in the home out of pure necessity. Before electricity, washing machines, or running water, housework wasn't just about doing chores, it was survival. Hauling buckets of water, scrubbing clothes, making bread from grain that you milled yourself, sewing every piece of clothing that your family wore. These were all tasks that were absolute paramount to the family's survival. Women were doing all of this all while raising children without any modern medicine, so without antibiotics, hospitals, or vaccines. Meanwhile, it's not like the men were off to some cushy job in the boardroom. Instead, they were breaking their backs in the fields, in mines, in factories, just dealing with horrid working conditions. Or, let's be honest, dying in wars to protect their families as well as their nation. Everyone was fighting to survive. And then capitalism changed everything. The division of—
Well, and with that perspective, if a woman, if you're going out and, like you said, working in horrid conditions every day, then you got to come home to a nagging wife. It puts it all into perspective why a man would rather be on the rooftop, why he would rather dwell in the corner of a house or a rooftop just to get away from a nagging wife, a quarrelsome wife. Horrid working conditions. Terrible. I have to breathe in chemicals. I'm probably going to die in 4 or 5 years. I know I'm going to die young. And you think I want to hear this? You think I want to be around this? And now today, men are like, listen, man, you guys and y'all's attitude, I'm definitely not going to be doing it. Absolutely not.
of labor, which is one of the primary principles of capitalism, meant that people could now specialize, trade, and buy what they once had to make for themselves. This freed people up from survival work, and that freedom sparked the inventions that have built the world that we live in today. We are surrounded by these inventions. 200 years ago, I would have had to spend all my time churning butter, sewing clothes, making candles. Now I just buy them. It would have taken me 2 days to do my laundry. Now I just press a button. And that time that was spent behind survival survival work can now be turned into more productive work, more specialized work. The same has been true for men as well. Machines have taken over all of that back-breaking work. So infrastructure work and building things has become so much easier. And people are now free to build, to think, and to create in ways that our forebears never could. Women have had biological limitations that have also kept them in the home. And you know what? Capitalism solved that too. In 1888, the first sanitary pad was created, which made it far easier for women to leave the house during their periods without the discomfort and the worry. So women were limited in the home because of survival, because of biology, but have been liberated by human ingenuity, by our forebears conquering nature and building a safer society. We women were freed by civilization itself. Lie number 4, marriage is slavery and children are a burden, and the only way that we could reach our highest potential was through our work. This cultural push has unfortunately created an epidemic of loneliness, nihilism, but worst of all, it has turned men and women into enemies.
And I saw that little thing right there where the woman said the best position for a woman is CEO or something like that. And that just speaks to the ideology of the women back then versus the women today, where they were out there working hard, just like the men were, back-breaking work, horrid working conditions, limited by, like she said, biology. I can only do certain things. I can only go certain places because my body will allow me to do that, right? So this is the system that we have now. Because of technology, we get to come out here and do a whole bunch of different things. So men have to continue, even with technological advances, men have to continue doing the hard jobs. Men have to continue being peasants to you guys, but you guys want to skyrocket to CEO. You guys want to skyrocket to the positions that tell not just men, honestly and truly, everybody what to do, even though you don't know your head from a hole in the ground. You don't know what you're doing.
Those very same feminists now argue for government-paid maternity leave, subsidized childcare, and many other safety nets to improve the lives of women. But before feminism, a woman didn't need to turn to the government for help. Instead, she turned to her husband, to her family, to her community. Marriage is not this predatory institution where men get a servant for life. Instead, it has always been a contract between the sexes to team up and brave the challenging world. Men were the protectors who went out into the harsh world for resources, and women created the safety and comfort of the home where the man could retreat and they could raise children together. That was always the purpose of marriage, stability through partnership. It's on the bedrock of this partnership that every community is formed and every nation has stood. This is why these calls for the government to solve so many social problems has become so loud. It's because right now in our nation, our sense of community is so weak, and that's because our families are so weak. And that's because our marriages are so weak. As of 2024, only 47% of households are headed up by a married couple, which is down from 79% in 1949. And 1 in 4 Americans, that's 91 million people, live alone. No wonder mental health, self-harm, and substance abuse are on the rise. Human beings were not meant to be alone. We were meant to live in families, to be part of communities, to find meaning through responsibility to others. And paternity support for women wasn't supposed to be funded by the government. No, instead, men were called upon to step up and provide for their families, since fatherhood was considered just as sacred a duty as motherhood. But feminism believes that dependence is oppression, obligation is oppression, responsibility is oppression.
Self-partnered? What is that? I'm not single, I'm self-partnered. And modern women will say that type of stuff in interviews. They'll be silly enough to say that type of stuff on surveys. Well, are you single? Well, I'm not single. I'm, and then they won't say exactly what they are. They'll say, I'm married. I'm married to myself. Just something stupid. They'll make up a lie on a survey. And then when the statistics or the numbers come out, oh, see, look at this. This is what I told you. Women are this, and that. No, they're not. You guys are liars. A lot of these modern women are liars. Sitting up here lying on these surveys, lying for statistics, just because that's what they believe. That's what they want to do. Self-partnered. They want to live in their own truth, in their own world of delusion. I don't think I've ever heard of self-partnered until now. We're just getting dumber and dumber and making up stuff. For what?
That what the individual, particularly a woman, is entitled to is a life that is completely unhooked from others, with no one to answer to, with no one to care for, and no one who truly needs her. Meanwhile, all of her needs should be met by a non-judgmental government. But that is not liberation. It's actually slow spiritual decay. There is this momentary pleasure of knowing that you have no responsibilities, but that pleasure comes at the price of purpose. And all that's left at the end of all of that pleasure is loneliness. There are plenty of imperfections in marriage, and that's expected because people themselves are imperfect. But when it's done correctly, when the two people are oriented correctly, marriage gives people a life of purpose, stability, and love. And children offer this path of rebirth, continuity, and meaning. I'm not saying that women shouldn't work. If that's what calls to you, absolutely you should. All I'm saying is that you should not sacrifice your family life at the altar of your career. Because the truth is that meaning comes from being needed, from forming bonds, from creating family and community. And none of that is possible without self-sacrifice. And also sacrificing your independence. But in exchange for that price, you get the opportunity to build something so much bigger than yourself. And that is the true power of marriage.
And you talk about capitalism, and you talk about uh, how we used to work hard for a lot of things. I I feel like a lot of modern women, they don't want to sacrifice. It's, well, give it to me now. Like, I just should be able to get on the phone, press a button, and then it's here. Going back to that sign that said the best position for a woman is CEO. They're thinking CEOs are like they see in the movies, where where a CEO sits behind a big, grand desk, overlooking, with a window corner office or whatever, or like a, honestly and truly, like a whole side of the building, and you just walks across like Iron Man, and with his hands behind his back or her hands behind her back, and just kind of looks out over the evening sky or the morning sky, and sees such beauty and such meaning, and ponders the meaning of life and all of its exquisite beauty. And I should just be able to press a button, and now that's not technologically advanced. So now I have a little beeper in my ear or something like that, or a little watch, or like Dick Tracy, hey, I need this, and the assistant brings in coffee, or specifically like Starbucks, the best coffee roasted from the shores of Italy, or the jungles of Africa, or whatever. You know what I mean? We've got the finest meats from this place and that place, right? And I'm employed. I'm gainfully employed. I'm well respected, and this is why I wear this as a symbol. I think they had like a $2,000 golden wing from Gucci or something like that, that a woman tried to give her husband. It was meaningless to him. He was like, well, I don't want this. Like, what do I do with it? But they would want that, and they would put that on their desk. They would wear that around as an ornament to say, I bought this for $2,000. I bought this for $2,000 because it means something. It's central to who I am, to my core as a person. Just spread love and prosperity. I'm sprinkling love and sprinkling prosperity all over you guys. Bunch of bull crap is what it is. That's what these women think that CEOs do all day. They don't think that they work hard. They don't think they do anything. They don't think that they're supposed to do anything. Just reap the rewards and the benefits of being in a high position with a high title. And you see modern women who aren't smart enough, they're not capable enough to get to that level. And by the way, these CEO women are thinking, not all of them, by the way, these CEO women are thinking that those peasants down at the bottom, those men who are only good enough to work in a coal mine, who are only good enough to work at a refinery, a factory, right? You don't know what you're doing. You listen to me, because I know the meaning of life. That's what they think about it. And for the women that aren't competent enough to reach this level, they just try to wait around at a country club or an upscale bar or cocktail lounge or whatever it might be for a man that will see their value and take them on so they can have access to these networks. Then they'll jump here. It's like a career to them. They'll jump here and they'll jump there and they'll do this and they'll do that. And then they'll finally, after maybe 2 or 3 years, if they're really working hard, connect with that boss babe CEO that has that office and walks around talking nonsense about the meaning of life and say, why don't you mentor me for free? And I can be a boss babe and maybe we can run the company together, or maybe you can give me a company or something that I can work with and build, and I can wear these suits like you wear and go on these vacations that you go on, and then we'll rest in our divine feminine. And oh, and by the way, we'll have many men flocking to us, and they'll love us. They'll love us for who we are. Our body will be perfect to them. Our eyes, our face, whatever it is, will be perfect to them because we are perfect to ourselves. They really live in a fantasy, a delusional world.
Number 5, sex work is empowering for women. Feminism believes that if women are unhappy, it's society's fault. In this case, if women are unhappy participating in sex work, whether that's through or making explicit content, the problem isn't the act itself. The problem is that society unfairly looks down on it. To correct this, there have been many campaigns to argue that sex work is real work, and women should be applauded for making content on OF because they are owning their sex. Just like the rest of the feminist lies that we've been told, the intention is to help women. But does it really? The adult industry doesn't actually empower women, and it never has. It has only ever existed to exploit them for money. There are endless stories of young women getting lured into creating this type of content with false promises of fame and money, only to be locked into predatory cycles where consent is extremely blurred, filming conditions are absolutely horrid, and worst of all, their bodies get turned into a commodity that they no longer own. While women are more in control on platforms like OF, they really join a platform like that convinced by these stories of the top 1% where women are making millions of dollars, only to find themselves crossing their own personal boundaries to make pennies. All for what? The industry codifies women. It has turned their bodies into products, and it trains men to see intimacy as something that can be purchased. And
even I said with OF, you're saying pennies, but a lot of people are struggling. So that little money that I get, that little $50 that I get for showing my feet or showing a little bit of my behind, right? Or I might show the whole thing and get a Christmas bonus. I'm a single mom. I need money for my kids. So that little $150, I think the average was I think they said somewhere around 150 to 180 bucks. Some have said as high as $200 a month. That little $100, 150, whatever it is, I'm not proud of it, but it's something that I had to do. That's what a lot of women that you hear in OF, and really you hear that type of stuff from these women who work in these nighttime clubs. Well, I had to do it, and I was going to college and I was struggling and don't even have kids, but I needed money to pay for this, and this. And when you find out where they're living, some of them didn't even need to be living there, right? You don't have to live in the most expensive part of town. Well, I wanted to feel safe and I wanted to have this dream and this, and this. And so they were forced, or they put themselves in the position. They forced themselves to work these things and do these things. And when they lose the integrity, oh, well, I'm secure because money, so I could care less. I'm not worried about what people think about me because of the money. I would have gotten this from a man if I found what I deem to be a good man. And a good man is somebody who's going to give me the money, but not expect anything from me, right? He's going to do all these things for me. He's going to take me out, but I don't really have to give anything to him unless I want to. Oh, and by the way, I can go outside the marriage or outside the relationship and mess around with whoever I want, show my body to whoever I want, just be to somebody else whatever I want to be. And to the person that's actually giving me money and taking care of me, oh, that's just a sponsor. That's all that is to me. Just real irresponsible behavior by modern women. Just so lax so lax in their standards that they're calling high standards.
Engaging in this kind of transaction, both for men and for women, robs them of any self-respect, because once something sacred can be bought, it stops being sacred, and no amount of cultural acceptance can actually change that. Loud declarations that work is empowering might drown out your inner voice that hates being something that can be purchased, but it won't ever fix that instinctive shame that comes from knowing that your self-worth has been reduced to a price. In order for a person to respect themselves, some things have to be above money, like our integrity, like our convictions, but above all, our body. And that's why a person for sale, no matter how much money they make, eventually feels worthless. So why has this feminist ideology taken such a hold? Just the single issue of abortion proves that women are possessed by this ideology. Abortion has turned women into single issue voters because many of them believe that a child isn't a gift, it's a curse. And that is part of the clue there. Ideologies that sell victim narratives take a hold in people because they want to see themselves as a victim. And a victim is someone that a society should aim to protect, but also look at them as justified in whatever action that they want to take as recompense for those slights. All of this really translates to getting a blank check to do whatever the hell you would like, and never needing to explain yourself or own up to your own mistakes, because it's always society's fault, it's always men's fault. That is the relationship with the self and with reality that feminism is peddling. And honestly, that sounds so good to people. No personal responsibility, an external excuse for everything wrong in my life, and I can do whatever the hell I want and never have to own up to any of the consequences. Sign me up. This is why when you try to argue with the specifics of feminist ideology, the true believers won't be willing to change their mind, because underneath it all they want to do is see themselves as victims. They're locked in.
We keep telling black women to submit to men that don't have their life together. How can you submit? How can you submit to a man who doesn't submit to God? You, black women, are in record numbers going to college. We're opening degrees. We're getting accolades. We're running nonprofits. There's a large portion of black women who are educating themselves and taking their lives to the next level, while the black men are not reaching those goals. They're not meeting us on those levels.
First of all, you sat up there and gave me a 30-minute dissertation on how great black women were doing, but the second
I support my black women, that's all.
I support black women.
I support black men
Here's
too,
the thing.
Look.
The majority of my clients, the majority of my executive staff, my man Ricardo Cordial, who's been a client of mine for 5 years, he will tell you the majority of the people in my executive team are black women. I have put more black women in the 1% than Nick Cannon with a bag of Viagra. So this is not about supporting black women.
Level
it's not you versus me. It's you and me. Right? We need to start circling our wagons amongst each other. We need to start circling our dollars amongst each other. The Jews do it, the Italians do it, the Chinese do it. When black people do it, they look at you like you crazy. There is no reason that FUBU should not still be hot today. Y'all rocking Ralph Lauren. If you want a solution, the solution is ignore the rhetoric, ignore the propaganda, and realize that I am not your competition. I am your completion. I am the one that's supposed to protect you, but the Bible says it is better for a man to live in the roof of his house than be in a house with a quarrelsome woman. Calm all that down. If you are so talented, so gifted, so degreed, so smart, how you let dumb niggas nut up in you and make babies?
This brother cooking. This man just let off an atomic bomb and she's catching some of the aftershock. Here she's hiding from the truth and reality of that quote. Let's get back up in it.
You over here talking?
Without a ring, without any type of commitment, and then you go and say that you don't like the white man, he's oppressing you, this, that, and the third, but you go to your white boss, then you go to your daddy government, and you allow daddy government to go tax this man instead of working it out with this man. And if this man was a deadbeat, you should have known that before you shed your clothes like Country Crock and spread your legs.
On the other side of the coin, they're going to think that, we are men that don't love and support women, which is anything from the case shit. You'll see women right down up in here in the comment section that understand exactly what it is that you say, that listen to exactly the things that I say, that listen to the exact same things that a Kevin Samuel say, and they goddamn agree, because we all want to see more people together. But there has to be a coaching from the mainstream rhetoric that has led so many of these hive-minded lemmings away.
And that's really the long and short of it. These modern women like to get on here talking nonsense. Y'all not doing anything. You ain't anything. You a bum. You a loser. Yada, yada, yada. But then when you say, hold on, calm all that down, and you start giving them statistics, hey, we doing better than you. That's what a lot of these modern women are saying. We got this, we got that. We're protecting this, we're doing that. And don't really be doing anything. Don't really be doing anything other than being an adult. That's all you are. Stop that.
If it's true that white women are leaving their husbands because of their underreactions, this is it, guys. This is the end of MAGA. Checkmate.
I actually don't have a single friend who is like thrilled with how their husband is reacting to all this. Most of them are describing their husbands as ostriching, sticking their heads in the sand and pretending like nothing is happening. Meanwhile, my friends, their wives, are trying to figure out, how are we going to continue normal life for our children through this? How are we going to prepare and protect ourselves? And their husbands are like, stop being so emotional. You're overreacting. I mean, do we see what's happening? Hello. It's time to wake up. Protect your family. Like, my friends are losing complete faith in their partners at this point. The divorces that are going to happen after all this, it's going to be an unprecedented number because you all are failing your families.
To think that that those women are actually communicating with this woman, because I think I did a separate reaction video to her kind of emphasizing and going in a lot deeper on this. But then somebody sent me this morning along with a couple of other videos, and then I started going down a rabbit hole to better understand exactly what's going on. But to think that they think that this woman is their friend while at the same time telling them all of her business, right? And then she coming on the internet and talking about this. And if I was a person that was actually married to a woman that was a friend of this woman, I would absolutely be, just disgusted. I would be disgusted. I would be so disgusted to where I would be like, hey, listen, first of all, why are you telling our personal business? The second thing is, why are you disrespecting me and talking negatively about what it is that I got going on in my household? And third, you need to divest yourself from this person because she's not your friend. She's not your friend. I'm not sure if this woman even has a man, but she's sitting here basically advocating, and yes, it is advocating for people to get divorced and for white women to leave their husbands. In which I think that, and you know this, I think that liberal white women are the worst things that's happening in America, and that's happened to America right now. That's a whole nother conversation. But if she is sitting here advocating for the divorce based off of the idea that they feel some type of way about ICE agents deporting illegal migrants, and protesters, I like to call them anarchists, are opposing burning up vehicles and destroying communities, that's insane. I don't know where we went wrong. I don't know why these women are so rebellious. I don't even know why they go against their husbands. And I'm going to emphasize a point that I said the other day, that protection, and this is just for informational purposes because, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. Protection is proactive. Protection is proactive. We seen the Renee Good woman and the other woman that she was married to allegedly say, drive, baby.
And it looks like he got cut off there at drive, baby, drive, which is crazy, right? At this point, I think a lot of these ladies, they just want to get divorced just to get divorced. It's like, when they started doing month-to-month contracts, because, these phone companies used to do like with a 2-year agreement, you get X, Y, and Z. And I get it if you're going to do your customer right. But a lot of these companies, they don't do right by the customer, and they got them locked in a contract, and the contract is slated, or it favors them. So you're kind of like, in that regard, well, it makes sense why the consumer wouldn't want to be in a relationship or a contract with you, because you have all of the leverage here, right? And then you can decide whenever you want to give them service or not. So it's not really beneficial to the customer. So they just go on a month-to-month contract, or you get no business at all. But for these modern women, they want this freedom to basically, like it was said previously in the video, do whatever they want. And if you're not allowing me to do whatever I want, regardless of if it's hurting you, regardless of if it's detrimental to you, that I don't know if I want to be around you, right? They want a man to lead. They want a man to be the man, to be in his masculine energy. But then you have here modern women that don't listen to the man. Oh, they're sticking their head in there saying they're doing this, and it. And I just imagine their divorce is going to happen. Why would they be divorcing? What if your man disagrees with you on something? What then? What then? At some point in time, if y'all are going to start using these divorces just willy-nilly, first of all, men ain't getting married. So that's what's happening. A lot of these men are staying away. But then secondly, there's got to be some sort of penalty associated, a fee associated, because a lot of time they try to stick it to the man. They try to give the man the responsibility. There's got to be some type of fee associated with these modern women continuing to be so irresponsible. They're entering into contracts. They're entering into situations. They're going into environments. And then when they finally figure out, after a man done told them, after different people, even their parents done told them that is dangerous. Don't go there. Hey, don't do this. Hey, relax. You don't want to be over here. Go over here. Then all of a sudden it's, well, I want to pull out. I don't want to be here anymore. Oh, it's too dangerous. At first it was safe, but then now it's just too dangerous. No, stupid. It was always dangerous. It never changed. You just happened to walk in a cool down period. But for the most part, it's always been freaking dangerous. Or when you walk into a situation, you need to think critically. You need to understand the ins and the outs of the situation before doing it. But modern women, once again, fueled by their emotions. Well, I want to go ahead and get married. I don't know if you should do that to that man. I don't know if you guys are compatible, right? I know that, he's got a lot of money and he treats you right, in terms of, just buying you gifts. You like that part of it, but does this man have any integrity? Right? Is this man, where does he go? What kind of business is he in? You only looked at his money. You only looked at the fact that he's 6 foot tall. What else does he have going for him? Drill down into that. Think about that. When you do your due diligence and your research, it might be that this man is a fantastic guy. But check into him. Look into him. Daddy, what do you think? Grandpa, what do you think? Pastor, what do you think? Get a man's perspective on what you guys got going on, and really trust the leadership of the men that some of y'all have had in y'all's lives for umpteen years. Modern women like to go out here and say, well, I need to find a man like my dad. He does this for me. He goes and does this, and he goes and does that. All unprompted. He just does it. So I want a man like that. But do you say when your dad says, no, you're not dressing in that, you're not doing this, you're not going here? No, they don't say nothing about that. They don't mention when daddy said, no, you're not going to that dance, or you're not dating that little boy. No, I know his folks. You're not doing that. Why don't you date this young man over here? Like I said, I know his folks who go to church together, or I see him at the store, or I work with his daddy. I know what kind of man he is. I know what kind of stock he comes from. Why don't you get this guy a chance? Not saying that it's going to work out, but he's a better option than this guy over here. Why don't you give him a chance? Why don't you take a look at him? Oh, he too green for me. He just don't measure up. He just too short. I want me a tall man, a monstrous man. You don't need that. You need a man that's going to protect you and your babies, and keep you safe and provide for you. A man that's going to come home at the end of the day, make sure you got food on that table, make sure y'all all clothed and fed, and your health is taken care of. That's what you need. I'm your dad. But you don't want to listen to that portion of it. You don't want to list out that portion of it. You only want to say, well, I'm looking for a man that, like my dad, likes to give me things and likes to go pump my gas and mow the lawn and make sure everything is taken care of so I can be in my divine feminine.
All right, guys, here's another email exchange. And I just want to preface this by saying that people's obsession with physicians needs to be studied, especially in the South Asian community. Okay, 28, female, based in the US, physical therapist, above average looking in my opinion, not open to matches outside the US. She prefers profiles from physicians as she is also in healthcare, and also her father is a doctor, and she has always envisioned herself marrying one as well. Now, this exchange happened after I shared the bios. Her response: Thanks, Baji. Everything looks good, but can you confirm what specialty he's doing his residency in before we move forward? So now, some of these things are a little bit of a flag for me because I find that people sometimes, when I try to help them, they have me doing like the admin work for them, kind of going back and forth on their behalf. And I've pretty much made it clear to everybody that I don't have the capacity to do things like that. And I'm not really sure why she can't move forward and ask him these questions herself. And so my response is, I think details about his profession and career prospects are something you can discuss if you're interested in each other following the photos. Is there a reason this needs to be confirmed at this stage? Her response: My father is a doctor and I have an understanding of which specialties I prefer. I would not prefer someone who is in a primary care specialty, unless they plan on specializing further. I hope that makes sense. Now my response. I'll be honest, I'm finding your requirement for not only wanting physician matches, but now further specifying which exact specialties you would consider to be oddly particular. You are not a physician yourself, and your father being a physician is irrelevant. They're marrying you, not your father. Let me know if you'd like to move forward with this match with this information provided. Further than that, I'm not sure my service is right for your needs. Now, the only reason I entertained her so far is because there is a market for people like her where she's educated, she's above average, and there are physicians that would consider her. But now her getting so nitty gritty and specific about her requirements, it screams ulterior motives and kind of gold diggerish. And just the fact that she called out primary care specialties not good enough for her is just a red flag. She responded, I do want to move forward. I mentioned my father because I know work-life balance for different specialties, but I can talk to him directly. Now, I did move them to the next stage and shared photos, and she wants to move forward. I haven't heard back from him yet. However, I did include a little note to him saying that she has specific requirements on which specialties that she's okay with, and that he should ask her open-ended questions to get to the bottom of that.
Well, they're looking for access. I know she did what I thought she was going to do, and that's, kind of come back at the end and say, well, work-life balance, yada yada yada. But really, I'm looking. I already, my dad is, he's a physician, so I've kind of scoped it out already. I kind of know what's what and what I like. And then work-life balance is, it could be cloaked for, I want to go to this party or this gala or this event or something like that, right? So these types of doctors, I need to know his future, because these types of doctors usually get invited to these types of events. They have access and really a lot of stuff that I'm looking at, right? I'm already in the club. She's thinking she's ahead of the game because her dad is a physician. So she's not really going to look for her dad to a degree, he got to pass the vibe check for mom and dad, right? But I'm looking for dad to kind of verify his credentials as a doctor, like somebody in residency. So I can say, okay, based on this information, based on what this expert, who is my dad, he's not working as my dad, but basically he's working as a consultant to me. He's working as a not hired, because I'm not paying him no money, but he's working as somebody who's going to look at this guy's credentials. This guy's going to say, yeah, I'm doing my residency in, I don't know, surgery or something like that. Who knows? I'm not educated in that. But daddy is going to be able to tell me something about that. And then he's going to say, yeah, he's doing X, Y, and Z. He's he's smart, or, he's kind of at the bottom of his class. And that's what I'm going to use to make my determination on whether I need to date this guy. So that's why I'm asking you to give me his residency, so I know if there's enough. I'm going to do my due diligence and seeing if the salary is going to fit, seeing if the work-life balance, quote unquote, is going to fit. What I really mean is the lifestyle. Is that going to fit me? I don't care if you're gone all day, as long as the work-life balance fits me. You get off in time enough for us to go to these events where the high class, the upper society goes to. It's important and it's imperative. That man don't know it, but he's gonna have two jobs at least. You're gonna be a doctor by day or a physician by day, and you're gonna be a socialite by night, because that's what she's gonna be. I need you to get me in these rooms, and your money and your prestige is gonna do it. That's why I need to know what you're going into. And daddy's going to confirm for me after I do my due diligence. Yeah, this guy's not lying. Well, daddy, what about his character? Dad's not going to get asked that question. Well, dad, what about if this man has integrity, or what about his behavior? Daddy ain't going to get asked that question. Daddy's going to have to do the digging. Daddy's going to have to run up behind his daughter and say, listen, baby girl, I know you want this, this, and this, but no, this guy is not for you. Well, daddy, he's this, he's that, da, da, da. He ain't for you. I'm telling you, this guy's going in a different direction. You're not going to like it. And he might not even be a bad guy. He might not even be a bad guy, but y'all don't have the same values. That's when the daughter's going to look at him and like, what values? We do have the same values. My values is money. Yeah, but you guys don't have the same religion. Y'all don't have the same faith. Y'all don't have the same political beliefs. I know how you like to get. I know some people, they can have all of that that's different, but you don't, not you. Not you. Everything's got to be your way or the highway. You don't want to be with this man. This man, he's not like that. He needs to have a little bit more control. Y'all are going to get into an argument. Y'all going to get into disagreements. And it's going to be a whole messy divorce. I'm not worried about divorce. I'm not worried about any of that. I'm worried about getting to this bag, staying long enough so I can get his money, and then still walk away with access to the networks that he got me into. Still walk away with access to the people that he got me access to. That's what I'm looking for. I don't know what you want. You seem like you want some companionship. I know you and mom been married for 50 years, but you seem like you want some true love. I'm not on true love. I'm on the love of money. I'm on the love of the cheddar, the moolah, the pesos. That's what I love. So daddy, you can miss me with all of that love, companionship, and doing right by people.